Hey everyone, this is Dante D bringing you another video. With all this talk of Donald Trump and Brexit and the rise of populist rightist movements in Europe over the past year in 2016, I really thought that world politics has been kind of front and center stage in people's lives a little bit more than usual. So I thought today, in the spirit of all that, I would do a video on comic books and the political spectrum. You see, comic books, when you look at them superficially, you see pictures and you see words and you see a story. But if you really delve deeper into comic books, you'll actually find that that a lot of them actually can be really political. And from the time that comic books were first published in the 1930s, they always did a really great job of calling attention the social and political issues that were going on during their time, especially in the 1960s. And what I really wanted to do today is kind of just begin to look at that. So basically what I've done is I've gone into my collection and I've amassed a group of individual issues and graphic novels that I felt were really political in nature. I've grouped all these books together into separate groups based on the particular political ideology that I thought they best represented. Now, I just want to let you know that in this video, I'm not trying to promote nor endorse any particular political ideology. This is not a video about me trying to tell you about my political views or my political opinions. This is just for fun. I just want to analyze all these books. So you're going to see books dealing with really ultra right ideas and some books that are dealing with really some ultra-left ideas. Okay, there's a nice mix of everything. So no matter what your political views are, I really think that that everyone can enjoy something here. Now, before we get into the actual books here, let's just do a quick review on the political spectrum. So here's the political spectrum here. So immediately what you see, you have left, you have center, and you have right. Let's start with the left. So at your far left, you have communism, right? And then you have center left. This is center left is kind of more like your social democrat, your liberal views. Some parties that really are considered more center left. In the United States, obviously, you have your Democrats. Your Democrats are considered a center-left party, and in Canada, you have your NDP, your New Democratic Party. Then in the center there, your center is more your parties that neither lean too much to the left nor too much to the right. They kind of take from both sides of the political spectrum a little bit. From the top of my head, I'm Canadian myself, but I can't really think of any political party in the United States that is more of a centrist or a center party, if I'm not mistaken. Please correct me if I'm wrong on this. But in Canada, we have the Liberal Party. They're our red party, the Reds there. Our Liberal Party is really kind of considered our centrist party. Then over here to your center right, this is when you're starting to get closer to your to your fascism here. Okay, so now at your center right, you have parties. For example, in the United States, you have your Republicans. Republicans are considered a center-right party. In Canada, you have the Conservative Party of Canada, which is the conservative, or sorry, the center-right party. Then, if you go right to the right there, like all the way far to the right, that would be more like your fascism. Any fascist parties that you can think of in history would be considered right or ultra-right. So let's start off our discussion of comics and the political ideology with, let's start off really broad with Marvel and DC. So what have these two companies kind of been writing, and what kind of political ideologies have they kind of been espousing in their stories and in their characters from when they started. Now, today, I would say generally today, Marvel and DC, they're kind of on a level playing field. I think they're both pretty progressive in the types of ideas that they include in their content. But it really wasn't always like that. At one time, at least in my opinion, I believe that DC was the conservative comic book company, especially in their earlier years. If you look at the comic book stories that DC was putting out in the 1930s, probably all the way up until arguably the 1970s or 80s, their characters were by and large all white. They all had immense power. All the characters were always fighting for the establishment. The stories were very black and white. There was always good versus evil, no gray. You saw very little minorities in their work. And let's not forget that most of the characters in the DC Comics, again, especially in the earlier years, always used kind of brute force to stop their adversaries. Actually, Frederick Wertham, the guy who wrote the book Seduction of the Innocent, which basically grilled and roasted the whole comic book industry. That was actually one of his criticisms about Superman, that he used violence and brute force to stop his adversaries, and that essentially was what fascism was. That essentially was what the United States was fighting against. So basically, if you were a minority reading DC Comics, you probably would not have felt included. It was really Marvel Comics that started espousing these ideas of inclusiveness in their work. They were the first to include minority superheroes in their roster. They were the first to put out these more gray stories that weren't so black and white. They were the first to put out morally ambiguous characters. Their work in the 1960s was revolutionary, and it really provided a lot of psychological richness for a generation of young people who were really starting to question governmental authority and the establishment as a whole. So with Marvel's success in the 1960s, with their revolutionary center left liberal ideas, DC Comics kind of found themselves playing catch up. They tried on numerous occasions to kind of put out some stories to keep up with the times and really try to put across these center left ideas. But I think they failed miserably. One failure that really comes to mind of DC's is the story in which Lois Lane becomes a black woman for a day. Yeah, I really think that was a valiant effort on DC's part to keep up with the times. But I definitely can see how people would find that particular story offensive. So now that we have some background, let's actually delve into some of these books. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the far left and kind of make my way right. The first book I have here, which is one of two actually, this is Superman the Red Sun. Now that cover should just kind of speak for itself. This is a great Superman story, and I believe it's an Elseworld story, and it kind of talks about it's kind of a what if. What would have happened if Superman landed in Soviet Russia and was raised by communists, as opposed to landing in Kansas and raised by American farmers? Really, really compelling read. Love this story. And really cannot get more leftist than this book here. The second and the last book that I have for leftist, I don't really have a lot of leftist, like far left books here, is Three. This is probably a book that you have not heard of. Wasn't immensely popular, and I'm not usually one that reads Image Comics, but when I saw this cover, I picked it up and I ended up loving it. Basically, this story deals with three helots in ancient Greece, and helots are a slave class. basically in Greek society, in Spartan society. So basically, you have these three slaves that rise up against the ruling class, the main Spartans. Great story, and basically that it's just that idea of the little guys there in society, the poorest of the poor rising up against the ruling class, that kind of makes this book leftist and revolutionary, I guess. But yeah, great read if you haven't read it. It's only a 5-issue run, so I would give it a shot if I were you, if you haven't picked this up yet. Okay, next we have our books that are more center left, and there are a lot of them here. So here we go. Okay, the first one I have here is Silver Surfer. This is the number one, but I think that this series as a whole kind of really puts forth these center left ideas. This came out in 1968, which was kind of at the height of that 60s counterculture that was going on in America, where basically liberals were demanding and really fighting hard for equality for minorities and more center left ideas. Silver Surfer really, if you read this, that's basically all he talks about when he's brooding. He's a brooding character, and he's talking about how can mankind be so cruel? I don't understand why they don't just love each other. I don't understand why they hate everyone who's different. And he's really kind of explicit in his kind of the way he puts forth these ideas. Great read, and it's definitely one that deserves a considerable mention when it comes to political comics. Next here I have X-Men. This is Giant Size X-Men. The reason why I selected this book, this is basically the first appearance of the X-Men as we know them today. The X-Men as a whole, they are center left, hugely center left, because they're all different, and they are continually in all their stories fighting for equality, with their Homo sapien counterparts. That just kind of says it all. Here I have another X-Men book here. This is actually God Loves, Man Kills. Really great graphic novel from the 1980s, and it really kind of puts forth really kind of illustrates the bigotry that goes on in the X-Men stories, and this is a pretty dark tale that deals with bigotry against the X-Men and what the X-Men have to do to fight to just live in the same world as the Homo sapiens. So really great. Next book we have here. This is a reprint of Amazing Fantasy 15. This is Marvel Tales 137. It reprints Amazing Fantasy 15, as I said. Why Spider-Man? Spider-Man is a story of the little guy rising up. That's the American dream right there. Starting as nothing and working your way to the top. But as we know, Peter Parker never really does make his way to the top. But it's just that idea of a little guy who's picked on, gaining this incredible power and being able to stick it to bullies who appear as villains in the story. That's leftism in itself, right? Or the center left in itself. The little guy who isn't noticed. He doesn't have a lot of money. He's not very rich, and he actually makes something of himself, right? Next we have Alpha Flight. Here we go. Alpha Flight number 1. Kind of just the same idea as the X-Men. The reason why I included this in here is because they really just kind of Marvel really did a great job with including minorities in their work, and really kind of appealing to the whole of their readership. I mean, how many people in Canada were reading Marvel comics by the 1980s? So they were really kind of smart to make that move to make like a basically the equivalent of a Canadian X-Men team, and then this team pretty much just as diverse as the X-Men. You know, you have your typical white Canadian. Then you have these two up here who are French Canadian. Then you have First Nations member of the team. So really great. And yeah, another great center left work, as I would call it. Next we have Superman Lois and Clark. This actually came out very recently. I think this is probably one of the only DC books. I have another one here, but one of the only DC books that I included on the center left spectrum here. The reason why I included this book on the center left here is really because this, when you really look deep into it, is a refugee story. This is Superman from a different universe, and his universe is destroyed in the Convergence event, and now he finds himself in a new universe that already has a Superman. So he's basically trying to keep his identity secret from all the other heroes that exist in this universe. He brings along with him his son and his wife, and they're just trying to make it day by day with nobody bothering them. So I mean, this is a refugee story, and I found it really kind of appropriate that this was released during the same year that we had a huge refugee crisis on the planet. So definitely a great story to release in this day and age. Next we have Black Panther. One of the only reasons why I included this on the center left is because Black Panther is of African descent. He's one of the first black superheroes. I mean, the Black Panther stories do deal a little bit with black rights, I guess, but I really just included this because Black Panther is one of the first black superheroes, and going with that inclusiveness that DC tried very hard to kind of put across in the 60s and 70s. Continuing with inclusiveness and black superheroes, we have Luke Cage, Hero for Hire, another very popular black superhero. Again, this comic here is really showing DC's commitment to depicting diversity and American society as it really was during the 1960s and 70s in its comic books. So that, and I think that's wonderful. And this comic book, I have to say, this is probably has to be one of my favorite comic book titles. I just absolutely love this. It's really well done, great stories, great art. Definitely one of my favorites in my collection. So yeah. Next we have the New Mutants. You have your Native American here. You have Sunspot there. He's I think he's Brazilian. So as you can see with this comic, Marvel continued to evolve with diversity in their comics throughout the years. Like this comic, I believe, came out in 1983. So from the 60s all the way through, even up until today, they've always kind of prided themselves on presenting characters that really represent American society. Next, we have Ms. Marvel. Ms. Marvel #1. Now, this isn't the original Ms. Marvel from the 1970s. This is a new Ms. Marvel. And the reason why I included this is because Ms. Marvel is a Muslim American. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, she's the first Muslim American hero in Marvel Comics. I know the Muslim Green Lantern in the DC universe kind of predates her, but if I'm not mistaken, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe she is the first Muslim superhero in the Marvel universe. So again, now this book came out, I believe, in 2014. So again, look at this. Marvel continues to bring diversity to their work, even in present day. And last, for the center left, we have Green Lantern, Green Arrow. This is a graphic novel. It's a collection of the Green Lantern, Green Arrow stories from the 70s. This is when DC, I really think, started becoming relevant on the social issue and really started kind of promoting those center left ideas effectively. Green Lantern, Green Arrow, it's a bit preachy at times, but I mean, they deal probably with every single social issue of the day, of the 1970s, in their comics, especially that Green Lantern, Green Arrow 76, that just kind of shows everything that is wrong with America, especially with that with the black gentleman there who says, well, you helped the purple skins and the orange skins, but what have you done for the black skins? He says to the Green Lantern. Definitely one of the most significant panels in comic history. Okay, now we're making our way to the center right, so let's get to it. The first book I have here that deals with the center right is Civil War. Okay, so why did I include Civil War on the civil right? Just the whole idea of the government wanting to create kind of like a superhero registry, basically to control superheroes. That's kind of a very center right idea. It's kind of calls to mind Donald Trump's pledge to create a Muslim registry, and as we know, Donald Trump is from a center right party. So that is why I decided to include Civil War in this the center right roster here. Next we have Watchmen. This book, and you guys might disagree with me. I included this on the center right. This book was kind of one of those tough nuts to crack, because I mean, you can kind of argue for both sides with Watchmen. You can either argue center right based on how some of the characters in the story act, and you can conversely argue center left too. So with this book, tell me what you think, or where you think this book should fall on the political spectrum, and why you think so. But this definitely was a book that I did not want to leave out in this video at all, just because it's such a significant watershed book from the 1980s, both as comic art and a work of comic art and a political work as well. Next we have Batman Earth 1. Now, Batman as a whole, you're going to start seeing a lot of Batman. I think Batman as a whole is more of your conservative center right superhero, just based on how he deals with things. He's kind of a brute in the way he works, right? He's very cynical. He doesn't trust anybody. He prefers to work alone. He uses his mind, but when it comes to dealing with criminals, he's very brutish and very rough. and some of his methods are questionable at times. So that's why I think you can kind of consider him a center right type of character, and even at times you can kind of consider him right. But yeah, this book is great. Earth One, kind of the same idea as Batman Year One, Frank Miller's. You have Bruce Wayne, who sees the holes in the justice system. He sees the corruption in the local government, and he starts taking the law into his own hands, and he gives Gotham City his own brand of law, which is pretty center right, if you ask me, at least in my opinion. Next, you have the Dark Knight Returns. Now, again, I included this for the same reasons that I included Earth One. Just basically the way that Batman deals with things and deals with his adversaries. But I know there are some of you out there that might want to put this more in the far left. You can argue this book for being on the far left, just because you have Superman in this book who represents the establishment, and Bruce Wayne just goes out of his way to kick the crap out of Superman and defeat the establishment, which is kind of very leftist, if you ask me. But nevertheless, I just based on the fact, just based on how Batman handles himself, I put this on the center right. And again, going with that is Frank Miller's Batman Year One. So all three of those Batman works, I kind of put for the center right. Then of course you have Wolverine. Not this story in particular. I kind of put this here just because the Wolverine character as a whole, I think is more center right. Now I know he fights on a team, the X-Men, that is more of a center left team as a whole. You have Wolverine though, who's the outlier. Just the way he deals with things, he's a badass. Let's look to be very frank, and he deals with things kind of similarly, in a similar way that Batman does, and that would make him, I think, more center right. And lastly, we have here, whoops, there goes one book, Superior Spider-Man. Now, I absolutely loved the Superior Spider-Man. I really think he was superior. I really think that Doc Ock as Spider-Man, he was better than Peter Parker. But again, some of Doc Ock's methods in how he basically practiced as Spider-Man were very center right. I mean, he kind of runs New York City. I mean, he doesn't run New York City, but the way he runs his operation is kind of reminiscent of Nazi Germany. I mean, he has drones everywhere, monitoring every single corner. There's no privacy. He's really brutal with his adversaries. He's just a more of a center right type of Spider-Man, and I think that kind of makes him better, sadly. But yeah, Superior Spider-Man. Those are my center right books. So we will now move on to the right books. So now we have our books here that are more on the far right, so that have more of a fascist feel to them. I only have 3 books here. The first one here is the Infinity Gauntlet. And the reason why I included this is because you have Thanos. He gets a hold of the Infinity Gauntlet, and he becomes this supreme being, and he runs as a totalitarian dictator almost. Yeah, he's a dictator. He runs with total and absolute power, and he can't get more fascist than that, right? So Infinity Gauntlet as your first far right book. Next, I have here a book that I'm sure almost no one has probably heard of. Um, this is Propaganda. It's by Bosch Fawstin. Now, this is actually not a comic book. It's a collection of artwork by Bosch Fawstin, but it's based on a comic book. The comic book is called The Pigman, and it's only available online on Comixology. And it's actually a very compelling read. So if you've not read it, I would encourage you to do so. I actually emailed the artist and author Bosch Fawstin to let him know how much I enjoyed his work, and he actually got back to me. And he's a super nice guy. I really appreciate appreciate him responding to me. We actually had a pretty good conversation. We're emailing back and forth for a while, but yeah, so I ended up buying this book from him, and it's just a collection of some of his artwork. Basically, the story goes here: Bosch Fawstin, he was raised an Albanian Muslim, and his upbringing as an Albanian Muslim for him was less than ideal, in his comics and his work here. He basically seeks to show the hypocrisy and basically the hypocrisy in Islam, yeah. So that's basically what he does in his work. And I mean, if you're not easily offended, like I myself, I'm not really easily offended. I don't really get tied up in this sort of thing. But I mean, as a work of comic art, he did a great job. Fun fact about Bosch Fawstin: I don't know if you heard about there was like a free speech rally somewhere in the U.S. I think it was last year, and they had like a Draw Muhammad contest, and Bosch Fawstin actually won that contest. Yeah, you actually can Google him, and a lot of his work will come up. So yeah, and last but not least, I have Holy Terror, Frank Miller's Holy Terror, and this is just a work of Frank Miller's that just got totally roasted by everyone. Basically, this book deals with a vigilante who fights terrorists. Frank Miller, as you know, well, or might not know, I don't know. It depends on how closely you follow Frank Miller. But I think Frank Miller is one of those artists who really got affected by the events of 9/11. I guess he was in New York the day it happened, and I guess he was never the same after. And from then on, he really started writing work that is really kind of fascist in nature. And this is an example of one of them. I'll take a few screenshots here for you, and as you can see, it's pretty graphic, and it's and how he portrays Muslims. He just basically portrays Muslims as the root of all evil. So yeah. So there you have it. There was my introductory basic list of comics and graphic novels that I felt were very politically charged. Now, obviously, I'm sure out there are other comic books and graphic novels that are political in nature that I have neither read nor even heard of. So if there are some books, comics, and graphic novels that you have read that you felt are really kind of political in nature, feel free to share them with me. I might go out and pick them up. So once again, before I sign off, I just want to let you know again, I was not with this video. My intention was not to kind of promote any sort of political ideology. Again, this was all just for fun, and I really hope that you all enjoyed it. So once again, comment below. Would love to start a conversation on some of these books, so or some of the books that you've read. So feel free to leave a comment, and until next time, this is Dante D signing off. Ciao.